Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad you're here this morning. Got a great show lined up. But first, let's do our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center at the corner of 77 and Baldwin Road. It's going to be another beautiful day. Chamber of Commerce weather, high of 77, low of 62. And big news, for the first time this year, the water temperature has hit 70 degrees, 7-0. So that's a great sign right there. On tomorrow's show, I'm going to show you some of the charts all along the Gulf Coast. We have some of these fingers starting to protrude out, but it's really good situation here. Let's take a look at our river readings brought to us every day on a daily basis. Okay, look at the Apalachicola Bluntstown. We've been talking about it being high. It's 14.5 foot still, but it's going to start dropping out for the weekend. So if you want to fish in falling water, it's going to be there. The Choctaw at Caraville, real steady over there. Got supposedly some rain coming on Friday. At first, there's 80% chance of rain. Now it's down to about 40%. So we'll wait and see. That front that's been out dumping all that rain out in Texas is working its way this way. But don't let it deter any of your outdoor plans for the weekend, because you know that's subject to change at any time. Okay, take a look at our tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn Funeral Home and Cemetery. We mentioned this yesterday. Just flat out neap tides. Speaking of flat, and not much going on. And by the weekend, looking on the 23rd of this weekend on Saturday, it's going to have some decent tides, so it's going to be a lot better than today. All right. Marine forecast south-southwest at about 10 to 15, so a good breeze out there, but not bad overall. A really nice day to be outdoors. Let's take our break. We'll be right back with our guest. Welcome back to a familiar face, one of our great sponsors and a good friend of ours, Bubba Hart.
Good morning. How you doing, Coach?
Good to see you, Bubba. Hart's Marine.
Good to see you.
And Bubba, he's been outdoors a long time before he owned a boat shop, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been around it my entire life. So
he was a natural at it. So when you were growing up here in the area, what were some of your favorite things you did, real quick?
Well, I fished Deer Point a lot. We would go out to the pier. We'd go to the beach a lot, and state park. I mean, we did a little bit of everything. So
we were just telling about taking the kids out to the pier and all today, and we're going to a lot of them. Never been out. It's hard to believe. And when you're growing up, all y'all went to the pier.
I know, that's amazing. I mean, Crystal Lake and Lake Merrill. I mean, just all over, right? We just stayed outdoors, when we were kids. Kept us out of trouble, I think.
It really did. It was just good for everybody.
Oh yeah.
And we're trying to keep, get that back for all the young people and all.
Yeah.
But anyway, I asked Bubba to come on. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about boats and different kind of boats and how they fit in our lifestyle. But first, I think foremost is sort of taking care.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the water temperature now is up to 70 degrees, so everybody's going to start dragging their boats out and getting ready. And as good as these engines and boats are, without proper maintenance, they just won't last.
And you were showing me before the show some of the things, and as much as I've been around boats and all, you take it for granted. You think that, like a car engine, a lot of times go, for 3,000 or 4,000 miles without oil change, and we just take it. But this is salt water a lot, and then fresh water coming through fast and all.
Right.
So
right.
Show us some of the things that you were showing me. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is a lot of these boats, they don't get a lot of hours on them, but that, with the salt water and the corrosive nature of it, I mean, you still have to maintain it. These are some parts that basically we've pulled out of engines over the past few days getting ready for the show, but just for example, this is a water pump. This is actually a water pump housing and a failed water pump. And Yamaha recommends every 200 hours to change this water pump housing. This is actually your wear plate. When we changed one, we changed the entire water pump assembly. And this boat, it didn't have anywhere near 200 hours on it. But what happens over time? This little rubber impeller gets brittle, and it'll just come apart. This is actually a new impeller.
So this is how it's supposed to look.
Yeah, and that's actually how it looks.
Oh my goodness.
So that's just one example, and it's an item that you could leave the dock and it'll be pumping water and working fine, and then it'll leave you stranded.
Wow. And that plate goes behind it.
This is actually the wear plate. It actually sets under and then it stacks just kind of like that.
Like that, yeah. Wow.
And so that can leave you stranded.
A little simple thing like that. Just,
yeah, that's like a $20 part, but it can leave you stranded.
Yep.
Another thing we're seeing a lot of is boats that's got either silver or gray fuel line on them. You know, they'll come in with a run issue and using ethanol fuel, and what'll happen is, you know, it'll just quit running, and you'll get to look and this hose looks good, but this is actually, I don't know if you can see that, if you split that hose, there's actually a liner inside that hose.
Oh my goodness, the line separated.
The liner separates from the hose and then causes a blockage. The engine can't get fuel, and then, you know, it quits running. So,
wow.
So just little things like that you
so
can
what,
check.
that comes in the gray and the silver hoses? For
Gray
the
and
most part?
silver hose. Mercury had a silver hose that was really bad to separate. This is actually, they call this an ethanol compliant hose, but as you can see, it's not, it won't hold up to
So we'd be better off to take those silver and gray hoses off and go and put a black hose on.
Go ahead and put a black hose on, and Amy or Chad up at the dealership, they've got the correct hose that you can
You know, we talk a lot about preventive maintenance, and that's a classic case right there. You could prevent something way ahead of time by doing that. We're gonna do that. Yeah.
Another thing, I don't know if we've got time to show it.
Yeah, we do.
This is actually a key switch that just came in, and the run issue is it just wouldn't start. And I see this is probably one of the most common problems we see. The boat will come in and the key's actually in the boat. But if you pull that key out, there on the tip of this switch, there's actually a little rubber boot that keeps the water out of it. And it just snaps right on. But what'll happen over time is that boot will get soft and it'll stick to the key and it'll pull off, and that allows water into the key switch and it fails the key switch. So
again,
just a little thing. That's a $2 part, I think.
Oh my goodness! But I can see how it would stick to the key, over the time.
And that just keeps the water out of it. And you know, with salt water and electronics, they don't really play well together.
So you got a choice. And something else I'm gonna check today. Really, you got a choice of getting a little $2 switch or $200 ignition. I mean, $2 cover or $200 ignition.
Yeah, and that switch is about $200.
Is it?
That simple, yes, sir.
Well, I mean, and you can see all the wires and all on it. So, man, that's a couple little things like that that's so important. All right, we're gonna take a quick break and come back talking about changing the oil and some other issues with your boats. All right, welcome back. So here with Bubba Hart from Harsh Marine, right there on 231. A good advertising and sponsor with Panhandle Outdoors, and we appreciate that. And you got some good quality stuff on your boats and all. But this morning, before we're starting off, we're gonna talk about boats in a little bit. But right now, talking about taking care of that motor because it's not an easy task unless you prevent it.
No, and you'll spend a little bit to maintain it, or you can spend a lot to fix it. And that's a little maintenance goes a long way with these things.
That is so true, and the filters and all. So
yeah, I mean we recommend at least once a season or every 100 hours go ahead and change the oil filters and fuel filters. And we when we service an engine, we use strictly Yamaha OEM parts. And I've seen the aftermarket stuff out there, and there is a difference. And what's amazing is we can order some of the aftermarket stuff, but there's not a big cost difference in the parts. So I don't know. Like, this is a fuel water separator off the boat, and I sent you a picture of that, and I don't know if they can put it up on the screen.
Yeah, we're going to show the picture now. So we got a picture on the screen now. So what would be the show this picture? Just tell us about the picture.
What you want to do is when you pull your fuel water separator off the boat, you want to pour it into a clear container, a glass container, and what you're looking at there is an ethanol fuel. That's what they call phase separation. And the problem is these engines will run fine on ethanol, but the problem with a boat is it's a recreational item, so it's liable to set 2 or 3 months in between uses, and then that fuel goes bad, and that's what you see. So, and another run issue we see is a guy will come in and he's been out and his boat just quits running, and he smells fuel in the bilge, and what we see is these fuel water separators, they're actually a metal housing, and over time, with the salt air, they'll rust a hole in them, and they'll empty out, and then the engine will lose prime, and it won't be able to get fuel. So, so that's something that you should change, really every 50 to 100 hours. So I would change it in between services, and then you want to change the oil filter and oil in the engine every 100 hours or once a year. And this is actually the high pressure filter, and I don't know if you can see that or not. This was an engine that it came in, and the run issue was that it wouldn't build RPMs. It would idle fine, but it just wouldn't build up RPMs. This is a F225 high pressure filter, and what happens, this little bitty hole here, every bit of the fuel that feeds that engine runs through that hole.
That's what's remarkable. All that fuel goes,
mesh.
Wow, goes through that little hole.
So if you just get it half, this is just crud, out of the fuel.
Wow.
You get that half full, and that is going to affect the running of that engine.
Yeah.
Same engine. This is an injector, and this is pretty cool stuff. We have just acquired an injector cleaning machine. We're one of only probably 2 or 3 dealerships in this area that's got this machine, and what it allows us to do, it allows us to disassemble this injector, sonic clean it, and actually fire the injector while it's cleaning. And then we can take it out of that cleaner, and then we can actually flow this injector to where, say a V6 has got 6 injectors, we can make all these injectors flow the same and really put it back in the new specs.
Oh, that's cool.
It's kind of a new deal for the marine industry, and the automotive. It's been around, so we've actually got that machine, and we can flow any marine injector and most all car injectors as well. So
that's critical, because back in the day, you'd have to send all that stuff off to the factory and bring it back. And
we would actually have to send it to South Carolina, and the turnaround on it was a week to 10 days. So that put you down, and now we can do it. Next day we can have it done. So,
that's cool.
So that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
That's actually the screen for that injector. So all the fuel for that cylinder runs through that little screen.
That's amazing. That's small. You just wouldn't imagine that, really.
Yeah. And as these engines get older, we're starting to see more and more issues like that. And again, it's not really the hours that you put on the engine. It's the age of the engine, the fuel setting up in it. It gets contaminants in it. It actually, moisture will get in it, and then it starts clogging these filters and causing these issues. So
yeah,
pretty cool stuff.
It's amazing how technology advances, like I guess you said on a yearly basis almost.
Yes, sir. I mean, it was just 5 years ago. We were rebuilding carburetors, like going out of style, and we bought a machine to help us with that, and now pretty much that machine has changed over into this injector cleaning machine, and so it's a constant evolution with these engines, but they're getting better and better. I mean, they're as good as I've ever seen. Yeah,
and we always tell people, every year I tell people during the wintertime, December and January, be sure and get out and run that engine and all. And I think some people go and crank it, but they really need to get out and, like you said, put it on their load.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing to do, because your injectors, your filters, VST, the entire fuel system, the boat fuel system, it's better it's good to crank it, but even if you just carry it to the landing and put it under some type of a load, is always better, because it's actually working that engine. When you just free rev it, it's not really having to work it to make it do anything. So.
Okay, now you brought one other item too, this EPIRB. We're going to jump into that real quick during this segment.
Okay.
The EPIRB, I say Emergency Position Indicating Radio Beacon. You call it EPIRB, the acronym EPIRB. And we're all familiar with them, but the governor just come out with a law now where they quoted you I read your article in the paper this week. Had a good quote with you on you get a little discount.
Yeah, from what I understand is I'm not a big fan of mandating anything on us, the government, but this is kind of a cool deal. I think they're actually going to give you a discount on your boat registration if you have a registered EPIRB. This is actually the one off of my boat, and I've had it for years. I mean, in my opinion, if you go offshore, I mean, this is a piece of equipment that you really should consider. I mean, what it does in case of an emergency, if this thing gets wet, it'll go off and it'll actually send a signal to the Coast Guard, and they come, no questions asked. I mean, so.
And their story, I was reading about it last night. They've documented over 20,000 lives being saved worldwide with EPIRBs, and the amazing stories and all. I have time maybe tomorrow to go over some stories of the EPIRB saving people's lives and all. But I've been on boats to have them. It's just a comfortable feeling to know you weigh 40 miles, 80 miles out, and there's nobody out there. And those waves kick up, and you go out there a lot.
Yes, sir, we do, and that ocean gets really, really big. I mean, you can go for hours and hours and hours and not see anybody. You know? And I tell you, I appreciate all of our Coast Guard out there, and you never really appreciate them till you need to call them, but they're always there. They're always monitoring the radio, and if you need them, they come.
Yeah. And getting back to the EPIRB, though, this is not, like I say, it's not mandated, it's voluntary. I mean, if you buy one, you can get a discount on your restoration. It's not mandated, you have to go buy one, but it's voluntary.
Oh, yeah, and you don't have to, this is more expensive. They actually have the personal locator devices, and those things are really, you can get them under a couple $100, you know. And, it's a good piece of equipment to have.
It sure is, and we're going to talk more about that later. But let's go and take our final break, and we'll be right back with Bubba. All right, welcome back to our final segment. Bubba Hart here from Hart's Marine up on 231. But first, let's look at our fish and game forecast today. Only got one time, brought to us by Mark Howard of Counts Realty. That one time is right smack dab in the middle of the day, 11:43 to 1:43. And I always ask my guests, you fish a lot, and sometimes they turn it on, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
So these times and all, a lot of times.
Oh, they do, and it does make a difference, the time of day. Yeah.
You were telling me real quick about you had to call the Coast Guard one time.
Yeah, it's been several years back, but we had actually left out of Panama City and was headed over to the rigs, and we got there and we had an engine go down. Actually, it was a filter, a VST filter that went down on us, but coming back, we were, we knew we were going to be late, and we were about 130 miles offshore. We called the Coast Guard, and they answered. That was a good feeling to hear them. But they just, we told them we were underway, and they actually told us to call them on the hour from then on until we got home, and they actually called my wife and let her know that we were going to be late and that we were okay. So I tell you, I appreciate those guys. They work hard.
Yeah, that's a long way out, and it's a good feeling to hear that voice.
Oh, man. Oh, man, yes.
All right, real quick, Bubba, tell folks that a lot of people are going to be boat shopping now in April and May. A couple of things, what do they need to look for in buying a boat?
Well, I mean, look for a good, reputable dealer to buy from, somebody that you enjoy working with. That's probably as big as the boat that you buy. I would look for a boat company that's been around a while. That there are several websites out there that you can go on, and they actually are review sites where the customers that own the boats go on and review them. And then the biggest thing is just buy from a dealership that you're comfortable working with. And I tell folks, when you're buying a boat, the buying process is probably 10% of the whole process. The other 90% is owning the boat and maintaining the boat. So, find somebody that you can work with.
And the service of it, you can run it back up there and all.
Yeah.
And y'all carry some good lines. You got the G3s.
We got G3 in the aluminum line, one of the top aluminum lines in the country. And then we've got Key West and Tidewater in the fiberglass lines. And that Tidewater line it's an up and coming line. Their 10-year anniversary is actually this year, so they've been around 10 years. But people really didn't know them that well until the last few years, but they've really come on strong.
You hit a nail on the head. It is an up and coming company. And on the Key West, it's been solid, been around. You sort of built your reputation on Key West, and they've been solid. But now you've spread it out to Tidewater.
Yes, sir. We've had Key West. We're so lucky to have them, and we've had them since 2003, and they've been a great staple for our business. And it's one of those lines that when you sell it, you don't have to worry about having issues with it. It's been a very good line for us.
These boats made up in the Carolinas or Georgia?
Yes, sir. Key West is actually built in Ridgeville, South Carolina, and then Tidewater is built in Columbia, South Carolina.
Okay, okay. A lot of good boat builders up there. They're on the coast up there. They learn how to build boats.
That Carolina Flair. I mean, there's a lot of boat companies up there, but you know, it seems like that's the boat that's kind of taken over with those big flares and sharp entries.
You got a good inventory out there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got plenty, so y'all come check us out.
That's fascinating to you 3 quality companies there.
Yes,
and
yeah.
And you say G3's got a good bass boat.
Yeah, G3's actually running a promotion right now. They're 20 boats for under $20,000. They've actually got a bass boat. It's the Sportsman 17. This boat's loaded. It's got trolling motor, bottom machine, battery charger. I mean, full boat motor and trailer, and they're advertising this boat for $18,900. I mean, and that is
loaded out there.
Value for the money. Yes.
Yeah.
A good value.
20 models under $20,000.
20 models under $20,000.
That's not many companies can say
no,
that.
Sir. No, that's a good value.
And your trailers, all the trailers in good quality trailers.
Yes, sir. We're using strictly on our glass boats, High Tech Trailers Brad here in town, and he builds a quality trailer. Been around for years, and I did that a few years back, and it's been a good move for us.
And your hours 8 to 5.
8 to 5 Monday through Friday, 8 to 2 on Saturday, and we're closed on Sunday.
And what kind of fishing you got planning coming up?
Man, it's all getting going now. The cobia is starting to be caught, Spanish. I'm just itching to go offshore. I was looking at rip charts yesterday, and there's a rip coming on up towards the squiggles and all. So we may try to sneak out before long.
They gonna let you get off work?
I don't know. I have to ask the boss.
You're like the farmer now. This is season. It's a harvest season now. You gotta get the peanuts in the out of the field.
That's right. You gotta cut hay while the sun's shining. But we may sneak off.
All right, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Yes,
buddy.
sir. I appreciate you having me.
All right, man. Folks, always we appreciate your viewership here on Panhandle Outdoors, run by Harsh Marine. Some really good stuff out there, and they really have some good stuff. Right up on 231. What's the address?
2840 North Highway 231.
All right. You do something good for your fellow man today. Have a great day in the outdoors, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.